absolutely.
Have you thought about getting a guy who calls all the leads?
Oh, just like keeps calling?
Like work them. Yeah, like work them. Because, so what would you say if I said it's too expensive? Because right then and there, I can see how they think. Because guess what you're paying for? You're paying for their brain. Focus on making cash and learning skills. And then once you've done that, then you can start focusing on branding.
My name is Rayon. I run a pressure washing business and I'm looking to leverage that opportunity, grow the business, help out other pressure washers. About a year and a half ago, I first got into this whole making money online digital marketing space. I saw Tanner's ad for Elite CEO. He's giving away a free guide. I watched his ad and the guide was like really good. Recently, I've been doing some high ticket sales. Tanner has been posting YouTube content on high ticket sales and his content was super helpful. Like I implemented what he said and I noticed my calls went a lot better. Instant difference. So his advice was really helpful. So I started watching more of his content. I followed him on Facebook. I saw his post and now I'm here. So I'm hoping he can give me the insight that I lack. Yeah.
Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Where'd you come from?
Cleveland.
Well, dude, cool. So whatever you want to get out of this, get out of it what you want. Like, this isn't for me. We had a guy last week who was super nice guy. He's like, I want to make sure you get good content. Like, if you get what you want, we'll get good content, because the whole point is, instead of me trying to come up with stuff, I'm just trying to help you solve your problem, which is what gets me excited, and it makes good content. So let's just start, like, give me a little context of your business. I don't know anything about it. Whatever you want to get, you can either just ask me like a million like podcast questions or statistical questions or strategy, whatever you want. Okay.
Awesome. So I run a pressure washing business currently.
You said that. I did hear that part. That's interesting. Pressure washing. That's actually really cool, by the way. I did that when I was a kid, but
pressure washing?
Oh yeah, but I mean, it was definitely not a business, and it sucked. It was really hard. My dad would make us go pressure wash rich people's houses.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll tell you the numbers. So
yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So where I'm from, it's seasonal.
Okay.
Operations about 6-7 months of the year.
What months? I'm assuming not like
for a winter or fall months. So like March to like September is really the season.
Okay, and I'm assuming that's just because you're in.
I'm in up north.
Okay, is that just curious? Is that normal? Even if you're in Miami, would that be the same thing?
No, Miami year all year. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so March to September. Okay.
But down here, there's a lot more competition because of that.
Of course.
So up there, less people do it, but prices are way higher due to less people.
Nice. Yeah, because there's less people to do it. Okay.
So last year, the last month I was in operation, revenue was about 27K.
Okay, so that was December? August, I'm sorry. Okay.
And then profit was 12.6.
Okay, so you're about to kind of gear back up.
Yeah, I want to scale this year. So that's like a question.
Are you still in school or you're out of school? You're completely out? Or are you in school?
I'm like arguing with my parents on it. They want me to do like engineering. You were petroleum engineering.
Yeah, what's your background?
My dad, my whole family is like engineer, doctor.
Yeah, and where are you originally from?
India.
Yeah, so education, it's just big. It's a big deal, bro. It's like I'm from, my family, we're just a bunch of white people, so it's like, it's important, but I got some flack, but it's not, I don't think it'd be to the level of you, because the way you're raised, at least from what I've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, it's just, if you don't go to school and you like don't get your degree and you like, they kind of look at you as like an outcast,
like a failure. Yeah, regardless of which.
Yeah, even if you're like literally a baller. Like, no, because one of my best friends, I mean, he was Iranian. Same thing. His dad's a doctor, and then like, it was a whole thing, bro.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, keep going.
Labor cost was about 3,500.
Okay. Like 3,500. Okay.
Yeah. Chemicals about 50.
And is this about the same every month, or should we do a 3-month average? Like, is it about?
Yeah,
this?
it's about the same every month.
Okay, so 3,500. Okay.
Chemicals about 1,500.
Okay. Yep.
Gas about 800.
Okay.
Marketing 4,500.
Okay. Curious to hear how do you market it?
Facebook ads, just pumping it up. I was spending.
Okay, and like, but what's like, walk me through. So if I see your ad, then like I get your info and call, or what happens?
Messenger ads.
Okay, and then what do you do from there? You book a call, you get them to buy something?
Just close the deal right through text.
How much is it?
The average, most common sale is like $300 to $500. Average order value on the last month was like 400.
Okay, average order. And what's the difference on the 300 to 500? Like, is it
house
square
size.
footage?
Yeah,
square footage,
foot.
right? Square footage. Okay, square footage. Okay.
Also different services, because it's not just pressure washing, it's exterior cleaning. So gutter cleaning, roof washing, those are add those on.
But it's all the same process though in the sense of how you clean, right? So I mean, you're still taking the wand and you're still like hitting it hard water. Okay, just making sure. Okay,
just throwing like an extra few $100 for gutter.
Right. Okay, so $300 to $500. What do you know what it is per square foot? I'm just curious. Like
roughly like 20 cents is what I'm going for.
20 cents a square foot. Okay,
Yeah.
Is that pretty standard?
Yeah,
industry?
I could raise it, but it was my first year in business. So one guy who runs a
so you've really done this for 1 year?
I've done this. This is gonna be my second year.
Okay. So like if you were doing that per month, like you did, so March, March, April.
I was only in operation 5 months. We did about like 115, 120.
Oh, dude, that's great, dude. That's good. So you made what, 70, 80 Gs? I mean, that's a pretty good amount of money for a 20-year-old. What got you into this?
Well, net profit was a little less just because I had a lot of one-time expenses. Like I bought a new truck. I bought a new
Sure, which you won't have to do again.
It's like 20 grand.
What got you into this? I'm just curious. Like, what made you think to do this?
It's all pressure washing's all over like TikTok and all that stuff, and I was like, this looks easy, so I just did it. I had a background with Facebook ads, so
I get so interested how people just decide to do what they do. So anyways, keep going. I'm sorry. Okay, so good. So 300 to 500 per house on average. Square foot is about. So we'll cut that off. AOV is 400. What else? Is there anything else?
There was for that month. These aren't reoccurring, but one-time expenses like equipment and like my truck repairs was like 2,800.
Okay, so 2,800 for that month.
Yeah, just like miscellaneous truck repairs.
I mean, the only thing,
equipment.
like, we can add that, but the thing is, like, if it's one time, I wouldn't, just because it's not going to happen over and over. I mean, that can happen, but is there, because, like, if you did that, let's say you did that in December or whatever month it was, you're not going to have that in January and February. So we could put them here, though. Just go ahead. So 2,800 for the truck?
Just like equipment. So equipment's in there, too, which, like you said, is a one-time buy. So.
Okay.
But yeah, those are the main expenses: labor, gas, marketing, chemicals.
All right, so let's walk through a couple things so I can understand. So I see your ad, I click it, it goes to Messenger, and then you have a conversation and close right there.
Right there.
Okay, so I guess I'd be curious on do you know your stats? So like how much you spend, how many messages, how many combos, okay, so let's walk through that. So how much do you spend typically on the ads?
$150 a day.
Yeah, so 4,500 a month. Okay, so how out of the 4,500, how many leads or combos does that get you?
Roughly about, you could say $10 a lead is average.
Okay, so what is that, 450 leads? Okay, and then out of those 450 leads, how many do you actually close?
Roughly anywhere from like 1 out of 10 is a solid average.
1 out of 10. Okay, so let's just say 45. And then what's the average order value? You said 400?
Yeah, 400 is AOV.
Okay, so you think it'd be 45 times 400, give or take? Would get me about what your ROI is, or is that too high?
I think that's too low because I did 27. 400 times 45 is like, what, 18?
Yeah, let me see. I used to be an engineer, but not no more, bro. Yeah, so that's 18,000. So you think it's a little higher?
Yeah, the 45 should be 55.
55.
That's about how many individual sales I did.
Okay. So let's do 55 times 400. Boom. Okay, so you make 22,000. So the good news is that's pretty decent. So you're getting about, what is that, 6x return almost?
It's about 7 ROAS, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
The number's a little off. It should add up to 27, but because that's what I did in revenue. So
okay, so I guess like, I don't know. That's probably, so if you did 27, then it's probably closer to like, let's say like 70. It's my guess.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, something like that. Does that seem kind of about right? So you're getting on average, it's about what, 15%?
10 to 15%.
Yeah, so it's like 15% of your leads. Okay, so I'm curious. The labor, can't get rid of that. Chemicals, can't get rid of that. Gas, can't get rid of that. Do you have one truck? Just one truck?
I have one truck right now.
Because you have one truck. Who does the labor, the actual work?
So
do you do it?
For the beginning, yeah. I went through like 4 employees last year and like
span a couple months. Yeah.
So
especially physical labor because it's tough.
Yeah, I had guys like quit. I had days I lost I had like $2,000 on the schedule and I hired the wrong the guy was like partying at night, not showing up, then I can't do the work. Freaking pissed off, but
yeah, man, that happens. That the downside of physical labor is anyone can do it, but the downside of that is anyone can do it.
Low skill, low wage labor.
Low skill, low wage. So I just want to walk a little bit more through it. So your labor, who you usually find like these young guys, these guys older than you?
These are like guys I know, like buddies.
Okay, so they're buddies. Okay, so what do you pay them typically, like per hour?
22, 23.
22 an hour. So that's not bad, dude.
It's not bad, you think?
I don't know obviously I don't know this specific industry as well, but I mean, I'd say typical, guys your age without degrees, unless they're doing physical labor, they're going to be doing what, $8 an hour, maybe like 15 if they're lucky somewhere.
Well, in my state, minimum wage is, or
Where is it?
Massachusetts. That's where I operate. Cleveland. I'm just in Cleveland visiting family.
Okay. So yeah, because I'm thinking, okay, so what's minimum wage where you're at?
18, like 17.
Okay,
18.
so you're only, okay, so then yeah, I think that's about fair. I mean, it's physical labor, it's going to be a little harder. The reality is like, it's not, you just need guys who are willing. And I'd probably have a big roster, because it's like a server. It's not really that difficult. It's just they got to show up and it's not that hard. And it's easy to see if they did a good job because you can see the stains and stuff. Okay, so, but yeah, I mean, you want to be able to count on good people. If you haven't, something you can do too is like try to put out job posts and stuff like that. So like one of my favorites, and this is just as a FYI, like our favorite is LinkedIn. We get a lot of good looks there. Okay. Could obviously do Indeed. The reason we don't like Indeed is Indeed's kind of like we get shut down a lot, but Indeed's good too. And you can put out, do you know what Typeform is?
Yeah.
Typeform, it's just like an application, and like you can pay a little bit of money to put those out and build up people in that local area who'd be interested in that, and then you can qualify them, right? I mean, that's gonna be the biggest pain in the ass if you keep burning through labor, right? So I would definitely try to find someone who can consistently do it. And then maybe if they can, you're willing to pay more, because there is a trade-off to paying less and then constantly churning labor than if you pay a little more, but you keep the same guys. So in a perfect world, what's good for you is you get the same guys to do the same thing every day. So that would be something to consider. I guess like I am curious, like, do you consistently have the same guys, or are you constantly finding new guys?
One guy, he churns, next guy. So
how long do they stay typically? Like a day, 2 weeks, a month?
A month, and then they usually just give up and quit.
Okay. And it's like X amount, how many jobs per day?
3, like okay. Minimum. Like if it's not a $1,000 day minimum, then I won't even like send them out. It's got to be at least 1,000.
Okay, so 3 jobs per day, and then they're working what? 10 hours, 8 hours? Like
10 hours average.
Okay, so 10 hours. Okay, so that's a long day. So, and it's 1 guy, 2 guys, 3 guys. How many guys?
1 guys. If it's like a big job, they need help, I'll go out with them. Sometimes I'll have like 3 guys, and I'll just be supervising them, making sure they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, so like three guys doing the same job or different jobs?
No, so I have 2 machines.
Okay, so you got 2 machines. So, hypothetically, I'm just trying to understand how they do it. 1 guy goes to one house, 1 guy goes to the other house. They finish, and then they go.
No, so we're on the same job. 1 guy's doing like front and back. Other guys.
Oh, so you guys are like it's like mowing the lawns. Then you go to the next one. Okay, so typically it's either 2 guys.
Usually it's just 1 guy. Me, like average day, it's him out there, and I'll go out and maybe help him. The other average, like other side of it, is he'll just go out alone, and then like once in an odd while, I'll just be like, hey, you want to work? I'll just have me and 2 other guys, and they'll just both do the work. I'll just watch. Okay.
And the reason, like the guys who are getting the job typically, are they like high school guys? What type of guys are they?
They're about my age, 20.
Yeah. So young guys, and then they quit. Why do they quit? They're just like, it's too hard, or like, what do they say?
Too hard. I think I'm also like, I'm not the best leader yet, or I need to improve that. Like, my boss skills. This is my first time.
Like how so though? Like, what do you mean?
Like, well, 1 guy told me you're not like a fun boss to be around, because I'm like trying to drill him, like, to be efficient, because I'm trying to like maximize dollars per hour. So maybe like I need to I think I need to appreciate them more in terms. I need to like shift my mindset, like, oh, they're working for me, set a high expectation. I need to shift to like, oh, they're making me money, I should be more kind of
yeah, I mean, so like something I'm thinking about there is just
culture, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a balance, but I also understand, like, I'm a business owner too, so it's like we got to get shit done, and so I understand where you're coming from. So just something that I'm thinking about is you can do 1 of 2 things. I would find older guys. So, like, I mean, I'm from Houston. Like, bro, the best people for that type of stuff would typically be like, I'm not joking, it's gonna sound fun, be like illegal immigrants who just want to get work, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing you can do is you can pay a little more. Right. And then what I would do as well is like, because you're just getting all your buddies, that's the other thing. Buddies is not a good dynamic.
Yeah.
Because they're your homie. And so the lines get blurred with boss and homie, right? It's like siblings. It's like, hey, he's my brother. He's not really like, it gets blurred. So what I would do is 1 is try to find older guys, just because in general, they're going to be a little bit more mature. And then 2, if you need to find more people and you're having a struggle, make a type form. Right? Kind of like the one you filled out to come here.
Yeah.
Make a type form, and you kind of qualify, and then you find guys here, and then you can call them and interview them and go from there. Because yeah, like you have to think about how much money you lose when they fuck up a job or they do something else. So if you save $5 an hour in the long run, it probably isn't as good as if you just have consistency, right? So probably if the minimum wage is 18, maybe you want to try to go around like 25 to 28, right? And then I get older guys. Definitely don't do your buddies anymore. You want consistency. It kills a business because I have one. So if you're constantly churning a position, it's tough unless, it's like fast food and, it's like, all right, so you stand here, like press the button. It depends if it's that simple, but if it takes a lot of ramp up time, that's tough. Something else you would want to do is create videos so you don't have to keep teaching the same stuff. So something that I do, I'll create, like let's say the task. So the task is like, pressure washing, let's say PW. Then I do a video. This will be on a sheet and I literally will record myself and have a link to the video. So what you could do is you could go out on a job and they don't have to do it the whole time, but each part of the process that you do. So you're like the gutters, this, that, have them record you and you literally do it and they can watch it. So when you get a new hire or someone like interviews, you're like, hey, watch this video. And that's the first step of training, right? Because then you don't have to constantly re-show everyone over and over. Yeah, now it's different than being on the job, but I would have that. Then you can break it down underneath it. You'll have high level steps. So meaning like we're doing this in my business. You're like step one. You're like, step one, pull out the equipment. Step two, da-da-da. Step three, da-da-da. And then at the end, you do a checklist before they leave the house. So it's like, did you do this? So it's like a checkbox. Like, did you do that? Did you do that? And that's like on an SOP sheet. So when someone is a new hire, you're like, hey, first thing, go through this, make sure you understand. And then you can even have like a quiz to see what they've retained. But at the very least, you don't have to keep showing. Every time you get a new guy, you have to take them out to the area. And you probably will to a degree, but this will speed up the process because they can just watch the video. So if you have videos on everything they're supposed to do in the house, I would highly recommend that because it'll speed that process up. The marketing I'm interested on because obviously if you can convert more leads, then you're gonna make more money, right? I mean, it's pretty simple. So I'm curious here on the marketing, they do ad to Messenger and then you're basically just—
That's it right there.
That's it. So I guess I'm curious, like what, and you're selling, like what, how much do they pay right there? Like $500, $400? Like what do they pay?
Yeah, $300 to $500.
Like right there in Messenger.
No. I on completion they pay. So they schedule right there.
Oh, so all they have to do is schedule and
Yeah.
they don't even pay. That's why. Because I was like, how the are you doing that? Because that's tough. Okay, so all these leads who don't right here, like what's the reason those ones don't do anything?
They're just always interested. Maybe they don't like the price, whatever. But the ads are so cheap and profitable that I'm still getting a good ROAS just because my cost per lead is so low.
Yeah, it's super low. Have you done anything in terms of calls? So like I'm just trying to understand that.
Sometimes I'll get calls too because I'll put my number in the ad. So Messenger, some people will just call or text me directly.
But have you thought about getting a guy who calls all the leads?
Oh, just like keeps calling?
Like work them. Yeah, like work them. Because so like here's the good news. The good news is I think that's super impressive that you get 450 leads, you get 70 to pay you $300 to $500. Now granted, they're not paying you right there in the DM, so it's simple. Like that makes sense to me because I was like, like what is he saying? I'm curious though, like what's this conversation look like here? So
few texts.
So walk me through. So like let's say I click on your ad, it's like, hey, I'm interested.
I'm like, hey, what were you looking to get washed? Oh, my house. Great. What's the address to your property? I can get you a quote. I give them a remote quote measuring the square footage on Zillow or Google Earth.
No
I'm like, hey, I can watch
that, dude.
Like, yeah, we can watch your sightings for this much. And they'll either say, great, when can we do it? I'll give them a date. Boom. That's it.
Let's say someone's like, oh, it's too expensive. When does it not become worth it for you? So meaning you were saying that typically you'll charge between $300 to $500 per house because of the square footage. When does it not become worth it to you? Is it like 15 cents a square foot, 10 cents, 5 cents?
Even 15 cents is extremely high.
Okay, so what's like what's the lowest you could go? Like and still
10
make
cents. And
10 cents.
I'll still make good money on that.
Okay. So here's what I'm curious about. Let's say someone comes in here and you quote them and they say it's too expensive. What do you do typically? You're just like, oh, okay, and that's it? Or
depending on how far out it is and if it's like $1,000 job, then yeah, I'll work with them a little bit on price. We can negotiate because it's worth that much. But if it's like a $300 wash and they're like, oh, I want it for $200, I won't bother unless I'm like already in that area. Then I'll bang it out right there because the drive time will be short. So I might as well just make it while I'm right there. But I could lower prices, but I want to raise them so I make more per.
Yeah, you can. So here's why I'm bringing this up, and we got a lot to talk about here because I think out of all the stuff I'm seeing, there's like what you're looking for in this business, and I also have some other stuff I want to get into after because this is super interesting. But the chemicals are the chemicals. Can't do shit. So it's like we're not going to talk about gas. Can't do shit. But what you can do is you can fix the marketing, like or what you charge, obviously what you're saying. Or the pressure or the labor, which we talked about. So the reason my company, we do phone calls is because usually phone calls are easier to close. Now the upside you have is you're doing a free thing. And so you're just quoting them. It's not a huge deal, right? They're not having to pay right there. So for them, I think that's also easier because it's like, hey, if this guy is a scam or doesn't show up, I'm not paying anything, right? So it's not that big of a deal. You're like, here's a quote, I'll come and do it. Mm-hmm. So I get that part. But here's what I'm thinking. You converted 70 leads, so about 15%. So obviously, if you can take that and let's say it goes to 25 or 30, anything above that, I mean, your ROI is going to go through the roof without even raising your price. Okay. Now, raising your price would be the easiest though, because technically, if you can close at 15%, like one of the easiest ways to double a business is you raise your price. Like, because if everything stays the same, but you charge more, then you make more, right? Okay. So you could do that. Here's what I'm trying to walk you through. And here's where I might want you to think. If I had this type of business, okay, something that I would, and I guess here's the only other thing. When they go to Messenger, is that the end of the ad? There's no landing page. There's no, wow, that's so interesting. No opt-in page, nothing.
Do you think that's bad or it's good because it's simple?
What type of ad? Is it a Messenger ad? Or
yeah, they click on it and go straight to Messenger. And I have like a couple
and you got no emails, no numbers, nothing.
That is one downside. I don't collect.
So have you tested running ad to opt-in?
Like lead form, or you mean?
Yeah, I mean, so you can do a lead form. When I say opt-in, that's more of a landing page. So I don't know if you know how to set that stuff up yet. Do you know how to set up okay, what are you familiar with? Like go high level?
GHL, yeah.
Okay, so cool. One thing you could do is you can run an ad straight to an opt-in page, and instead of Messenger, you have someone call all the leads, right? Now this is working. So if you were going to test this, you don't stop doing what's working to test something else. But again, like let's say if you did this and you had a setter and you had an email automation, right? So everyone's getting emails and then you had a setter call these numbers of dialing. I'm curious if that will work better. Now, if this is working for you now, you don't want to just shift completely. But if you're spending $4,500 a month, maybe what you do is you take 500 of that and you test this. Another thought is you run the same ad, but when they come into Messenger, usually you have like a question. So the first question that I would ask, and maybe you could get it to Zap with Zapier so you can pull that data, is I would get their email or phone number, specifically their phone number.
Okay.
And then you could call. Because here's the thing, like out of those 450 leads, like I'm assuming some don't answer or it's a price thing. And so the thought process I have, so you can kind of see where I'm thinking, is when you talk to someone on the phone, it's a lot easier to beat objections and it's also more real. Like I'm surprised you have 70%. So just hear me out on this. All I'm thinking right now is one of two things, is either A, you split test this, right? So you keep this running. This keeps running no matter what. You don't stop what's working. Because it's like, we're not going to take something that's giving you money and then stop. Because as of now, if you just do the math, if you spend more, guess what will happen? We'll make more, right? This would be your last option. So we'll do this number 3. So here's what I would probably recommend is when you run these ads, something I would do is, it doesn't sound like you're doing it right now, is when they come into Messenger and they click on the ad, what's the first message that pops up? What does it say?
There's usually buttons they can click, like I want my house washed, etc. Or like,
so it's like the auto population.
Yeah, just like the button they click, and then my question would be like, can I get a quote, etc. Something like that. That will be the first button they click, and my first message will be, great, what were you looking to get washed, or what's the address to your property? I can get you a quote, etc.
Okay, on this third one here, and these are just ideas because again, I'm just trying, and this would be cheap labor. So all I'm thinking is here, if you ran this to a lead form, now the only difference between an opt-in and a lead form is embedded in Facebook. So it's Facebook native. An opt-in page, it's your page. It's people trying to make it super complex. It's not. Let's say hypothetically you do the lead form and they give you their email and number, right? Okay, so after that, if it went to a DM here's what I like about that, okay, is you could have someone calling them. You could have an email sequence from Go High Level that for 7 days is like, hey, book a call, book a call, book a call, or get a quote, whatever you want to push them to. And then you can DM. So now you're hitting them on both sides. Because what I'm probably for sure is you're missing leads that you could have got if you called. Because typically calls are a little starting. Because like, hey, this is Tanner, just checking in with you. Things I saw. I just want to see, are you interested in that? I could get you a quote right now. And then you can like fight through objections. So for example, if they're like, oh, it's too expensive. Mm-hmm. If I know that you're willing to go down to 10 cents, you have bartering power, which is easier on a call than like sitting there going back and forth in Messenger, right? Or people disengage with you. Do you know how many of those leads don't respond? Like out of the 450, he's like half, 30%.
Like don't respond at all.
Mm-hmm.
Don't respond at all. Maybe a good amount, like anywhere from 20 to 33%.
Okay, yeah. So which is pretty right. So you're missing about 20, 30%. Now that doesn't mean they're all going to pick up, but typically, if you had, it's not even that many leads. You could easily hire that out, or you could do it yourself. It just depends how much time you want to spend. But again, like there's only two ways for your business to grow right now. It's either you spend more on ads or you get more efficient. The good news is like, again, this is working. So I don't want you to leave here and go, oh, Tanner's changing my whole process. You need to definitely stick with this because you never change something that's working, especially when you have a 7X ROAS. Here's all I'm thinking. The easiest thing for you to do, if you could, is if you can keep this and somehow in the first message be like, please drop your number, we'll call you with a quote, right? Or something like that.
Oh, that's
the other thing is you don't have anything on the back end. So when I get 450 leads, guess what happens? They get hammered with texts. They get hammered with emails. You're not doing anything. That's the only thing I don't like about this, but it's working. But you're not getting any lists. Like you have no lists. You have no, think about this. If you get all those emails and stuff, you could do specials and you're like, hey, doing a special, bro, you'll get return business and shit. Yeah, and you'll get return business that, yeah, they could hit you back up, but it's so valuable to build that list. So what I would do first is see if you can ask for a message, like the first message, something that I would do is like, hey, please drop your email and phone number so we can give you a quote. That's very easy. And I think a lot of people do it. Then what can happen is you start the DM combo here. And then you could have someone else either call them or you could do both. Like the downside of calling, and I get why you've done DMs, the downside of calling is it takes more time, right? Because now you got to call them. It's going to take probably 10 or 15 minutes a pop. The DM is probably really fast. So you're just like boom, 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 boom. Like that's probably why I'm assuming you did that, right? So this would be the easiest. Now, if you can't do this or it doesn't work very well, then what I would try is you could do the opposite, but this is opposite of what you're doing right now. So now it's like, okay, so I'm taking what's working and I'm kind of flipping the model. All I'm thinking of is like you can hit them from three sides. So instead of just messaging, it's like I can hit them email, phone number, and guess what you could do? Text. So you could also do automated text messages. You can automate those through Go High Level on email and text, right? So now you're hitting them 4 different ways. Now, the way you would test that, right? Because I don't want you to leave here and then, you call us in a month and you're like, Tanner ruined my business, is if you're going to spend $4,500, then what I would do is like, let's say hypothetically, you spend $4,500 here because you're like, I know this is a safe bet. And then you could take like 500 or 1,000 and you test that. Or let's say you don't want to spend over 4,500, spend 3,500 here and then test that with 1,000 and you compare percentage wise. And you see if it's worth it. Now, if you do this or this and it's about the same, the only thing I still don't like is that you're not getting, I still have to think at the very least you should do this because if you can get emails and phone numbers, you can either scrape it with Zapier. If you can't, it's worth it to pay someone or yourself to go and add those numbers and emails in. You probably want to get a VA though. Like that's not a good use of your time. So there's that. Now, let's do a hypothetical. If you started calling everyone in conjunction to DMing, do you have time to do that? And when I say, do you have time to do that? I'm not like, obviously you can make the time, but you're pretty much, you're managing, you're doing fulfillment, you're doing everything right now. So you're going to get stretched probably pretty thin. Do you have time to do that? Because I guess per day, 450 leads, how many leads you get in a day? You're getting about anywhere 15 to 20.
10 to 15.
Okay. So it's not, that's probably doable for you, right?
Maybe, text. Calling. I don't know just because I might be because I like to be super quick. Like I like to answer back right away, increases closing rate.
Of course, yeah.
Probably not like to have like full 5 to 10 minutes.
So like let's say in a day you get 15 leads, is it like 1 lead per hour or 2 leads per hour? Is it kind of like that, or how often is it?
Kind of like spread out evenly throughout the day.
Okay, so it's like here and there though.
Like 5 in the morning, 5 afternoon.
So it's not a lot. Okay, so the rule of thumb typically is if a lead comes in, you call them in under 5 minutes or less.
Okay.
Like if someone comes in and you call them within the first 5 minutes, it's like a 90% increase in results. And again, like you're not building a list. That's the thing that concerns me the most, because if you're getting 450 leads for the last 6 months, that's 2,500 people that you could email promos, you could email discounts, like whatever, and you can get return business. That's just like a rule of thumb for business, because anytime you need repeat business or you need to drum up new business, you don't have to pay for new leads, right?
Right.
The only way you're going to know is if you test it. So I would say if you have time, do it. If you don't, then what you could do is you could pay someone to just do those calls, and you just give them a little bit of a script, because it wouldn't be hard. Be like, hey, this is Tanner, just saw that you submitted your info to get a pressure wash. I just want to get a little context, and we could give you a quote, and then maybe send a team out there. Right. And then they can try to get them through. Now, typically what I pay in a month is I'll pay a guy $1,500 base plus 3% commission. Now, the thing with that is that's a full-time gig, and we're getting hundreds and hundreds of leads a day. You're getting 15 leads a day. So to be frank, you could pay someone hardly anything and they'd probably be happy. Like I bet like this might be something for your buddy, because all you would do is when this comes in, or this information, you would want to have a zap that like goes to their cell phone to tell them to call the number like immediately, right? So you might be able to get away with paying someone. Now, if you can do it yourself, it's best, because you can test it. It's always better if you can, but if you don't have time, or you're like, hey, it's gonna be too difficult on the job, then what you could do is probably pay someone $500 base, and then you give them a percentage of what they sell. And the reason you do that is it incentivizes them to, I don't know if 3% is gonna be the number, but it would incentivize them to get a higher square footage, and they don't just like downsell stuff, right? So I don't know what the perfect number is, but your other option is you pay someone, you just give them a small base, and then you're like, hey, everyone that you sell through phone, great. And then what would happen too is you guys would just have to, what would happen is like you probably would double up on some people, where like if you closed in the DM and they called, you guys might accidentally get the same person. But you guys would just have to, what I would do is you guys would just have like a list where you close people, and then that guy could see before he calls, like that person's not on the list or something like that. It's not like a huge deal. There's also ways where if you could activate a invoice or something, it can like pull them out of the call list. But anyways, I'm overthinking it. I think the easiest thing for you to do would just be, if they came in here, you got this info, it's scraped to an Excel sheet, and the guy just called, or he got like a text to call, and he just worked through the numbers. And I mean, it wouldn't be that hard. That's just a thought. You're not at a huge scale right now. So it's kind of like, you're kind of in a weird spot where it'd be better if you could do it, but you might not have the time.
I could probably make the time, because it's not that much, you're right.
Yeah, because I mean, even if you had 10 people a day, it's 5 minutes, it's an hour, and they might not pick up. You got to remember that. Like not everyone picks up. Right. So what I would do is you call. If they don't pick up, you hang up, you call right back. If they don't pick up, you call right back, do a triple dial. It's called a triple dial. So if you were calling me, it's like ring, 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 no pickup. You're like ring, 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 no pickup. Ring, 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 ring. Like usually they'll pick up one of those times, because you're like, yo, who is calling me? Especially if it's a local number. Do you have a local number there?
Yeah.
Then that's perfect, because they're more likely to pick up the local number. Once you see how that process works, so if you're gonna do it, then this is great. So here's the cool thing, is like, you're in a great spot of your business where you're gonna do the job better than anyone else. Right. So everything you test, you'll know for 100% certainty, it's not because the person who did it sucked, it's because it didn't work. So to be frank with you, when they start, maybe what you do is you just first message is, hey, please drop your email and phone number so we can quote you. And then you're able from there to either start engaging in the message, right? Because they won't know the difference. Say you come in like, hey, da-da-da, or you can call. That's my first thought. The other thought is then you could test this way. This is the harder one because you're switching the process. So I would start here, but that's again, I'm just trying to give you all options and scenarios. When you test, you always take a very small budget and you use it against the control. Never stop the control and just switch. That's in all phases of business. Never, ever, ever, ever do that. It's super stupid, right? Because what you could do is you could cripple your business where, let's say you're getting the 6x return and you're like, oh, well, Tanner said test this. You take all the money and put it here, and then it just crushes it. And it's stupid because this is already working. We're just trying to optimize. We're not trying to like fix the whole process. What's the objection you get the most? I'm sure it's price.
Yeah, it's really price.
Price. So I'm going to walk you through a price objection. Probably what's happening right now is they come in, the DM, you like quote them, they're like, it's too expensive. And then you're just like, okay, buy. Right? Is that pretty much what you do?
Exactly.
Okay, so here's what I would do. So you said yourself, you're charging 20 cents per square foot, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if your lowest you're willing to take is 10 cents, but you got to know what that number is. If you don't know what that number is, this won't work. You have to know, like, I will take 10 cents, but I'll take nothing lower. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. Okay. So what I do on the call is, or DMs or whatever, is typically what we'll do is this. So let's say for you, you're quoting them. So we'll call that the close. So you're like, hey, so the price per square foot is 20 cents. What they're going to say is, well, that's too expensive. Object, right? Yeah, it's too expensive. And you're like, what you'll do is you'll go, totally. Now this is DM or text. Obviously, like the way you're going to say it will sound a little different, but I'm just trying to walk you through the framework. So whether it's text or text or call, you're just like, yeah, totally understand, not a problem. Is there anything besides the price that would stop you from moving forward with the pressure washing? Mm-hmm. And they're almost always going to say no. They're like, no. Okay, so the first time they say no, it's called a tie down. Now, if they're like, well, yeah, I don't want to get pressure washed. It's like, okay, so you don't want pressure washing? No, it's like, all right, move on. That's stupid, right? This is for people who want it, because the whole point is when someone is on a call with elite COs and they say, yeah, it's too expensive. What they're saying is, I want to do it, or what that's supposed to mean is I want to do it, but I can't afford it. So that's what we're clarifying. Got it. So if you could afford it, you would do it. Mm-hmm. And once we get that tie down, then we can actually attack price, okay? So I'll just walk you through again. So you're like, hey, so the price is 20 cents per square foot, excuse me. And they go, yeah, it's too expensive. You're like, totally get it. Is there anything besides price that would stop you from moving forward? Isolate. And they go, no, it's just price. You go, got it. So if I can figure out the square footage for you or the price, you'd be able to move forward. Okay?
Right.
They go, yeah. You go, cool. So what I usually do with high ticket sales, if I'm on the phone, I go, cool. So the way I can best help you here is figure out what your cash on hand look like. So credit card savings, etc. That's going to sound weird here. So what I would say instead is I go, cool. What's the price? What's the price that you feel is fair per square foot? Mm-hmm. That's what I would say. So here you'd say, what's the price? Because this is a little bit of a different offer. You feel, I'll just hyphenate, but essentially I'd say, what's the price you feel is fair per square foot? Just be honest, mm-hmm. Right? You can say that DM, you can say it on a call. You're like, hey dude, like, no problem. Like, what do you feel is honestly fair?
Okay.
And one of two things are gonna happen. This dude's gonna totally rip you off and be like, I think it's like 5 cents. So let's do both scenarios. Let's say he's and he's like, well, I think it's 5 cents, right? Well, if he says that, then all you say is you go, hey, look, I totally understand and appreciate that. That's way off what I usually charge. I do 20 cents. The absolute lowest I could go is this. I'm happy to make that work, but otherwise, like, I want to be able to work with you. Is that okay? That's all you say. Because, like, this is not a high enough deal package to sit and go back and forth either. Like, now, if the guy goes, well, I thought it would be 15 cents. Well, then you just take it. Or he's like, I thought it'd be 12 cents. Just take it because you told me that you would take anything above 10 cents.
Right.
Now, that's your call as the business owner. But the reason you would do that is, think about it. It's not the best job in the world, but guess what? You have these fixed expenses. Now, granted, if you're like, well, yeah, but you know what, Tanner, these jobs don't help me that much. They hurt me. Well, then all you're telling me is this number's too low. It's actually higher. But what I have in my head is that number. And then what you do is you just ask them, what's the price that you feel is fair? And then they can tell you, and then you can just take that price and then you get the deal done. Or if they say it's too low, you go, dude, that's too low. The lowest I can do is here. And I think what would happen is, at least that way, you're going to get a couple people who are a little nitpicky and they're like, oh, 20 cents. They're like, how about 16 cents or whatever? And I think you would close some more deals. Now, what we usually do on a high ticket sale, because this is a little different. So what we'll usually do on a high ticket sale is we'll go here after the tie down, we'll go, well, what's your cash on hand? Again, I think that sounds weird here because you're not this isn't a high ticket service. Like, they've got the money, they're just being a stickler. So we'll go, what's your cash on hand? And then let's say I'm charging 20 grand. Let's say someone's like, I got 10,000. I'm like, cool. So look, I'm down to work something out for you. But before I do, I just want to make sure you're going to move forward before I go into financials. Something like that, because what a lot of people will do is you'll figure out a price and then they'll still say they can't do it.
Tie down.
Yeah, it's tie down. And then what we do from there is go, look, I don't think you should spend all of it, but I do think you should do something. And then I give them a solution. So for you, I don't think that's necessary, only because you're only selling a $300 to $500 package. It's like, dude, they can't afford that. It's like, it's not even worth it. So I think this is the best way to handle it. So here, instead of asking for cash on hand, I think all you have to do is go, look, totally. So the price is 20 cents a square foot and they're like too expensive. You're like, totally get it. Is there anything besides price that would stop you from moving forward? Like, no, it's literally just a square footage price. Like, okay. So if we figure that out, you'd be open for me coming and doing the work at your house? They're like, yeah, cool. It's like, so let me just be straight with you. What's the price you feel is fair? And just be honest with me. And what's great about that is not only are you going to get an answer so you don't shortcut yourself, because what do a lot of sales guys do? Well, what about 15? What about 12? What about 10? And then you come off desperate. But when you put it on him, they're like, oh, this guy's confident. And he's like, he doesn't care. He's chill. So what's cool is, one, they're going to say the highest price they actually think is fair typically, right? Or usually some people are, but then the person who does this, when you know that you're not going to go below 10 cents, you're just like, hey man, look, like I want to help you out, but I mean, that's 75% cheaper. The absolute best I can do is, and then you say whatever the absolute best is you're going to do, like the absolute lowest you'll take. And then what's great is, you know, if they won't do that, that lead was never going to buy it. But if they do it, you're going to convert more leads than you did before. And so let's say in the month, you get an extra, I don't know, 10 sales out of that. You just have to do the financial math. Hey, if I get 10 extra sales at, let's say 10 cents a square foot versus 20, is that worth it in terms of the extra cost to the cash collected? And that's how you do it. And so in my business, the reason I always did that is, guess what I did? If you got an extra 10 sales, even at 10 cents, let's say, like, how much is that in revenue typically if it's at 10 cents? 300, 200?
We'll say 200.
Okay, so let's say 200. And then you got to pay the labor. So let's just say it's even 50%. Okay, so you got $2,000 and only 1,000 of it is profit. Well, guess what? That's $1,000 extra for ads. That's going to get you more leads that are going to pay you 20 cents a square foot. You get where I'm going with that?
And I just shot my profit up like 10, like
exactly,
10% like
exactly.
That.
And so I think it's worth the conversation. The two things I think you could optimize for, 3 things. First, labor. Okay, we want to less churn. I think you need to find people who aren't your friends, maybe raise the price slightly, but that would be the first thing. Maybe pay a little more, find different people. You can use LinkedIn and Indeed. You can also just do like Facebook job marketplace. It's a lot of stuff, but just keep in mind, like it takes you 450 leads to close 70 people. Guess what? It's the same thing in job applications. You got to just be willing to, work. And then if you're not getting good quality, then you need to pay more, because the more you pay, the more people want to do it, right? It's a higher leverage job. So that's number 1. Number 2 is then what we talked about earlier, your marketing. Okay, so I would try adding in the dialing, seeing if that helps. At the very least, if you get the phone number and email and you zap it, you'll have follow-ups on the back end. And I would build out a 7 to 10 day automation sequence. You might do 2 texts. Texts are super invasive, so maybe like 2 texts. And then I would do an email a day. And you're pushing them to either book a call with you or to like DM you for a consult or whatever it is, the highest leverage thing that you want, but like you want them to like, hey, you like
close it on the phone.
Yeah, something like that. Usually we'll push to a call. It's like, hey, book a 15-minute call. And what you could do is you could have a calendar where they book a call and then you can call and quote them. Or you could just say, hey, click this button and DM me and we'll set it up. Like whatever's the highest leverage, and you test it, right? At the end of the day, the thing you need to learn to in business is people with experience are telling you what to do based on what they've done. Right? What worked for them. End of the day though, the number 1 thing, if you want to know for sure, you test it yourself. Right? And then I think the last thing is implementing this process right here, right? In your DMs and calls, because then dude, you're going to get you'll probably convert an extra 10%, maybe 20. And then that also increases your sales. So if you change the marketing and you get a 10% increase, you do this, you get a 10% increase, and then you get better workers. So you have less attrition. You might increase like, let's say your margins by like, let's say 30%. This is an interview process I'll walk you through. It's not super crazy. He'll send you the link as well. But the first thing is you're just going to start by saying, okay, so, thanks for coming to the call. I'm super excited to talk to you. My name's Tanner. Really, I just want to like walk you through this process, answer all your questions, and then see if this is a fit. Okay. And so I always start by saying, so the first thing here is at Elite CEOs, I want to walk you through our values. Here's the 3 values we have. Values for a company, if you don't have them, you should come up with them. Those are the top things your top performers have. So if you were to look at the perfect client, or excuse me, the perfect worker, what would he have? So like stuff for my company is, we'll say competitive greatness. That means doing your best at all times. Like competitive greatness means people who actually want to do their best. Like I find that's important because some people, they don't want to do their best, right? You want people to actually want to do a good job. I don't know about you, but when I was poor and I was a server, I was a damn good server, bro. I was a great server. Because I just don't know any other way than to do my best, right?
Okay.
So I'll be like competitive greatness, proactivity, whatever the things are, typically it's 3 things, right? And so think about what's the top 3 things. So for you, it could be like communication, good at talking to customers, good at communicating with me, expressing yourself, right? You want your team to be able to come to you and tell you how you feel and you be able to handle it, right? Then number 2 is you go, here's what the role is and here's what it's gonna look like. So you just tell them straight up how it looks. You're like, cool. So if you work with me, I need you 5 days a week, 10 hours a day. What you'll do is you'll get 3 jobs. You'll go out to those jobs, you walk them through it. And then again, I'll be like, now, if that's an issue for you, if you don't like the sun, you don't like to work hard, you don't like to be outside, this is not for you, okay? Like I'm just telling you right now, like if you're not this type of person, it's not for you. It's so much easier to have a job be easier than what you tell them, but it's never okay when it's harder. Right? So when I did door-to-door sales, you know what they told me? Oh, it's so easy. You're going to make so much money. Bro, door-to-door sales was fucking brutal. Brutal. You know what I'm saying? So that's the second thing. Third thing is then you ask about experience if they have any. Right? Now, for you, you're going to get a lot of guys with no experience. That's okay. But you say, okay, and in terms of like physical, you might say in terms of physical labor jobs, like you ever done anything like this before? Why? Because if you get a guy who has, he's gonna be a better worker. Why? Because you don't have to teach him everything. He's like, yeah, I've done pressure washing before. It's easy. I know how to do it. Great. Awesome. Okay. Number 4, you usually ask what's important to them. Okay. Important to them. So you go, look, man, so let me ask you this. If you worked for me and someone said, hey, what do you do for work now? You're like, I do pressure washing for Tanner. And he's like, how do you like it? He's like, oh, it's amazing. I love it. That's how I say, I'm like, tell me why you would say that. Like what would have to happen for you to say that? Is it you get cupcakes? You get more time off if you do well? You get bonuses? You make more money? What do you care about? And you figure out, some people, they're easy. They're like, I just want to make a lot of money. You're like, okay, some people are like, yeah, man, I really need a job right now and I just want to take care of my family or whatever. And it's just like, you get to know who they are as a person, but you have to tell them that you don't care what they tell you and it's okay. Because dude, everyone's different. Like some people, they just want community. Some people want money. It's just like whatever's important to them, right? So there's that. Number 5 is then you could give a stress test if you want. So a stress test would be, you could test their skills, right? So if the guy says, oh, I have experience, you go, okay, hypothetical scenario. You get to a house, it's 10 cents a square foot, I don't know, like there's a way to test that. You can. If that's not like a good question, just skip it. For me, if I have like media buyers, sales guys, etc., I'm like, okay, so what would you say if I said it's too expensive? Because right then and there, I can see how they think. Because guess what you're paying for? You're paying for their brain. Now, this is manual labor, but end of the day, it's like you're really paying for their brain. Like you're not paying, anyone can do this. Right. What you're paying for is like, can they communicate? Can they do a good job? Are they resilient? Like,
can they upsell?
Upsell, I mean, all that stuff, dude. Yeah, for sure. Okay. After that, I usually will say, how much would you like to make? And this is a great question. You like to make. Okay, so here's the cool thing. Why do I like to ask that on interviews? 2 things. First is I try to get a gauge. It lets me know where they're at. So for example, if I'm interviewing for a COO and someone goes, I want $40,000 a month. I'm like, dude, like, no. Like, I just tell them like, hey, just be frank with you. Like, that's just not going to happen. So like, I totally understand if that's what you want, but that's just not on the cards for my company. Like, we can't pay that. Right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is they might say, the price you wanted. And in that case, you're great. Like, cool. So like, you want 25 an hour? You're like, great, awesome. You don't have to say anything on that call. It's just so you know, unless you're ready to offer the job, right? But the good thing is, remember, everyone wants to get paid what they feel they're worth. If they feel they're worth 25 an hour, and a lot of times you can't pay that, they're not going to like it. Now, the best part that could even happen is they might say, well, I want at least 18 an hour. Well, guess what? If you were willing to pay 25, that gives you a great leverage because now if you offer the job, you go, hey, so I know you said you only want 18 an hour. What I was thinking is I would give you 22. All I ask is you work really hard. Like, would that work? Or you'd be like, I'll give you 18, but if you stay on for at least 3 months, I'll give you a bonus at 22 an hour. So for example, like I'm just throwing out random ideas. But let's say someone stays for at least 3 months, you'll go back and you'll pay them for all their hours they did at 22 an hour instead of 18.
Sign-on bonus.
Yeah, or not even really, more like a retention bonus, right? Like, what's the biggest issue you're having right now? Retention. So probably what I would do is if someone said, hey, I only want 18 an hour, I'd say, hey, look, so what I'll do, because they don't know what you pay. Be like, hey, so I know you say you want 18 an hour, but I want to take you a step up. I'll give you 18 an hour. And then if you stay on for at least 90 days, I'll go back and pay you an extra $4 for every hour, and I'll raise your wage to 22. Because then what are you incentivizing? You're incentivizing exactly what you want, to stay on. Right?
Right.
So anyways, that's why I like that question, because it gives you a lot of stuff you can do with it versus you go, hey, it's this much an hour. Do you like it or not? Ask them what they want to make. And then some people, if they say a ridiculous number, you're just like, hey man, like totally understand. Like that's not really doable. Do you have any flexibility on that? And again, like it's better when it comes from them because you know where their head's at.
Work
right?
with them.
Because everyone's always going to tell you, oh yeah, that's fine, X, Y, Z. But when you let them open up, you're going to get better answers. And that's really the interview process. Something for you to note about like billionaires and the richest people in the world is all the businesses that make the most money usually fit this criteria. Something they sell for high price, usually. Okay, not always, but usually. Okay. It's easy to know fulfillment. Okay, so easy meaning like you, it's like you show up, you do the wash, you're done. Okay, or no fulfillment, which means like an app. That's why a lot of tech companies get massive multiples. I'm not saying you should do that. There's downsides to it too, but that's why. So high price, easy to know fulfillment, and then they usually have internet marketing backgrounds, which you are getting right now. You're technically learning how to market on the internet, which is great. So why? If you learn how to market really well, when you have a great product with good marketing, crushes, right? There's a lot of kids who have great ideas, but they don't know how to run a business. So like if you go to like Y Combinator, a lot of the people there have great ideas, but they don't know how to operate. Meaning they don't know how to hire, they don't know how to run ads, they don't know how to make funnels. Like they're the opposite of you. Where like some people would look at your business right now and like, oh, it's kind of a boring business, but you're learning how to operate, which is super valuable for your age. I mean,
Later on.
Oh, dude. Because like in 5 years, you're going to be, dude, you'll just be like, oh, I get this. And then you're going to have so many skills, right? So there's this, usually easy to know fulfillment. You actually have that. And then typically it's going to be like something high price. So let me give you some examples. Do you know what Hyros is?
Yeah.
Okay, so Hyros. Okay. So let's see what it checks the box. High price, easy to fulfill. They do literally nothing. And then he has an internet marketing background. And then like a caveat sometimes is this recurring. So guess what he also has? He has recurring revenue. Right? The reason those companies scale is because as you get more customers, guess what? It doesn't put any strain on fulfillment. Fulfillment just stays like this. In your business, guess what happens? As you get more customers, what happens to your fulfillment? It goes like this, which makes it harder to scale. I'm not saying you can't, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing in my business, right? The more customers I get, what happens?
Fulfillment.
More fulfillment. Those businesses, you can make money, but they never are like the billion-dollar companies. If you look at a lot of billion-dollar companies, like Quest Nutrition,
Protein bars.
Prime Energy drink. Now, the difference with those guys is they can get it out there because they have super big platforms, right? Like Logan Paul. Like if you and me posted, Logan Paul could be like, here's my fingernails, someone would buy it.
Right.
So that's just something for you to think about long term. I don't want you to be thinking about that right now because I think at the age you're at right now, the fact that you're even out there and you've already started this, like keep going with it because you're going to learn. But what I just want you to be thinking of is you don't have to figure it all out yet. You're 20, but be thinking like, so is based on like kind of what I'm telling you is like, is this a business I want to run for the next 5 years? Is it just a business I want to run for the next few years and learn to the next thing? It doesn't really matter. You're going to learn a load, but it's just something to think about. Because for me, when I started my business, I was never thinking that. I was just so broke. I was just like, I just want to make money. And then as I made money, I realized if I want to get to the next level, I cannot keep investing in this business, meaning my time, right? So my objective with Elite CEOs is it's going to keep running, but I'm going to have a full management team in place. I failed the first time, so this is my second attempt.
With Elite CEOs?
Yeah, I put someone in place and didn't go well. So this is going to be my second attempt. Oh. And I learned from that. I was like, okay, here's what I did wrong, etc. And then that gives me my time because guess what I spent all my time doing? Management and leading. All day, dude, I'm with managers. Because guess how many managers I have? Like, I think I have a dozen managers. Oh, wow. So it's a lot of work, right? So if I could get someone to manage my managers, guess what? Then I can spend all my time on the next business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, hire out, buy your time back. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What about content creation? My goal is this year, profits I make, I just want to like go all out on content, like try to build like personal brand. Like I'm gonna spend like
Yeah, I wouldn't do it, honestly.
You wouldn't do it?
No, I don't. I don't think you're there yet.
Okay.
Like when you say build a personal brand, it's like
just documenting like, hey, power washing journey. Dude, today we did this many.
yeah,
dollars
but
in
I don't
sales.
think you need to go. I don't think you need to go that crazy. Like I don't think you need to take your extra money. I think like you need to take your iPhone out and talk to your iPhone.
Dude, which is what I'm doing right now, but I want to. Okay, you're saying don't invest the money.
Like
don't
let's just think about it.
money.
Like why? Like to make better content. Like
for my coaching program.
Yeah, but I don't think you need it. Like again, you're seeing what people are doing now. You're not seeing what they did then. I can tell you, like me and for sure, we weren't doing that when we started.
I'm skipping steps with that.
Yeah, you're skipping steps. Like you're seeing what we're doing now. So like I'm trying to do that now. Has really done well with it, but he didn't do any content before. Now he says he regrets not documenting it. I agree, you should document it. But I don't want you to think for any reason that because my content looks better, that's the biggest driver in my business. No, like it helps, but like, dude, I scaled to $1 million without a single piece of content. It's just ads.
Okay.
So I'm cool with you doing that, but I don't think you going, hey, here's my extra profit, let me dump it into better content. I don't think that's a good idea.
What should I spend like?
More ads, building the business, like.
Okay.
Like, I mean, if I'm looking at this, you spent $4,500, you made 27. Why don't you just spend 8? Why don't you spend 12? Why don't you spend?
Then I got to worry about fulfillment. But
I get it.
I got to take 2 steps back.
I get it, but yeah, like for where you're at now, I would document your journey. Maybe you could have one editor if you really want to, a cheap editor to make you clips and stuff. But like, dude, spending $100,000 a month on his team, like you don't need to do that.
You're right.
You know, even me, I think I spend 20, 25 grand a month. You don't need to do that. It's not necessary. And to be frank, it's a long-term play. Focus on making cash and learning skills. And then once you've done that, then you can start focusing on branding. You know, like I do think content's important to a degree, but
don't go all out yet.
Yeah, like one post a day. Yeah, dude, I just started going all out like a year ago. I mean, it's even new for me. I'm a multimillionaire. Like it's a long-term play. It's a super long-term play. And I don't think where you're at, like part of the reason his brand blew up is he sold the company for $60 million.
Yeah, his proof.
So part of it is your story and he's a jacked lord, right? So you're 20 years old. What proof do you, like, why should someone listen to you yet? You don't have tons of proof yet. It's cool. Like you got a cool story, but like, do you really think like having higher edited videos and is the key? It's like, no, it's like, what have you accomplished? That's what people care about. So go fucking accomplish something. Hopefully, I don't know if that answered your question, but that's my advice.
Got it, yeah. No, I did.
Right? Because like once you start focusing on content, the problem is you're not now focusing on the business and you're going to take your eye off the ball. This is what's going to help you build your brand.
Right.
Just use your iPhone and you can literally start uploading it to YouTube and stuff. And then like 3 years from now, you can go back and be like, dude, like look at who I was then. And that's when people will care. They don't care till you become something though. Right now, like no one's gonna care because like your story right now, not like you have a great story, but at the end of the day,
it's not remarkable yet.
Yeah, they're just like, yeah, he's doing good, 27. But like what was cool with is he started documenting when he was 16 and now he's like 20 something and now he's like fucking crushing it. And so people can go back and watch like, holy shit, like that's me. This is the time where like people will relate to you the most. So just document it. And then later when you're making tons of money, you can do what Gary Vee and all these other guys do where they're fucking, you know, reel this and reel that and all that shit. But dude, it's expensive. Like even my team, like we try to hire cheap editors and it's still like 20, 25 grand a month.
Oh wow.
We have like 12 editors. I mean, it's a lot of money. And like it's not like my like blows up per se. It's like it does okay, but it's like my brand's nowhere near where I want it to be. And I think it's because at the end of the day, I've talked to him. It's like, yeah, we because it's like, oh, let's do this or that edit or that. It's like end of the day, it's like I gotta do more impressive shit. Like, yeah, I've done enough where like I can go pretty much anywhere where people will recognize me, but it's like there's levels. And so like if you look at compared to me, is it really that surprising he has more followers? I mean, I don't think so. He sold the company for 60 million. His book has like 1 million 5 stars. He's jacked as with a fucking beard, which is super unique. His help, like, he's got a cool story and he's crushing it. And he's really good at speaking. So just keep building the skills, document, and then later you can do it. Yeah. So
don't take eye off the business. Got it.
Yeah.
Tanner gave me a lot of clarity on what my next step should be. You know, I was like thinking I gotta have like a big golden bullet or whatever, but he's like, you know, improve this, like simple, like improve this, improve this, improve this.
Yeah.
Don't do this, do this. A lot of clarity. Final words for Tanner. Yeah, I really appreciate all the advice you gave me. Super high level stuff. Gave me a lot of clarity. I think it will definitely help me reach my goals. Super helpful. I'm like really appreciative he does stuff like this. It's very great. He's passing info down the ladder. Just super invaluable information. Super grateful I got this opportunity.